Hello Godzilla, King Kong, and monster fans. Welcome to another entry into the summer special. Today we're going to be continuing the Godzilla franchise. And I do want to address some things before we do get started on this video. So first off, I'm very sorry that I unfortunately didn't give you guys a video for last weekend. I was planning to. I wanted this review to be up last weekend, but unfortunately, my workplace opened back up. And my family went on vacation, and I had to stay behind to take care of my pets. So I didn't have enough time. I didn't have any free time last weekend to make a video for you guys, but I do have time now this week. So I'm able, because now my family's back from vacation, and now that I know my work, and now I'm more settled into work, so yeah, now I know what times I can make my videos and give you guys the content that you deserve. So anyways, hopefully I plan to make it up with you guys with hopefully 2 movie reviews for today. Don't hold me to that, because I have no idea if that'll end up happening, but I do have plans to have this review and my next Godzilla review up today. So eventually 2 movie reviews I had planned for today. Whether or not you'll find out after this video whether I hold up to that bargain or not, but anyways, on with King Kong versus Godzilla. So, I should mention that King Kong versus Godzilla is both the 3rd entry in the franchise for Godzilla and King Kong. It is a crossover film between the 2 big monsters. Now, you may be asking, why am I reviewing a crossover film when I haven't even touched the King Kong franchise yet and haven't even finished the rest of Godzilla franchise yet? Well, good question. Originally, I had no plans to review this video until I reviewed this whole franchise and then reviewed King Kong's franchise before I touched this. But what made me change my mind was that I realized that Godzilla pretty much crosses over with every monster more than once. And besides, he's going to be crossing over with King Kong next year. Unless if it gets delayed anymore, but King Kong and Godzilla are supposed to have a rematch in the next movie in both of their franchises. So it seems fitting that I should at least talk about it in the summer special. Plus, it is still part of both franchises. Godzilla has too many crossover films with other monsters that I just feel it's kind of pointless for me to do that. It's not like Freddy vs. Jason for Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, or Alien vs. Predator. It's not like there's a clear crossover film that I can, skip over. Godzilla has way too many crossover films with other monsters. So it just seems fair that I might as well tackle it now. And then if you're on eventually I'll get to the King Kong franchise, but right now we're on Godzilla. But I will use a different approach for this video, as I will review it as both a Godzilla and a King Kong movie. So technically this will be my first King Kong movie review as well. Now I'm a fan of both monsters, so you can bet as hell when I heard that when I was going in this movie, I was fucking hyped. I was excited. In the last video, to finally see my 2 favorite monsters on duke it out. I saw it once. It has been a long time. So was King Kong versus Godzilla what I hoped? Well, I guess we'll find out anyways. But it's been 7 years since the second Godzilla movie in the franchise, and Godzilla came out in 1962. So yeah, Toho had done some other monster movies in between Godzilla's second film. And Godzilla and King Kong both have similar entries, as King Kong's first movie and Godzilla's first movie were amazing movies. They were perfect, they were awesome, And I'll get more into depth with King Kong's first movie when I do get there. And they also had crappy second movies. Godzilla Raids Again was a pretty weak sequel, and from what I remember, King Kong Son of Kong wasn't exactly as great either. So suffice to say, this movie had a lot of things riding on it, as it was the third entry for both of their franchises, and they needed a rejuvenation after their weak sequels. But King Kong had been off the screen for almost 30 years. That's the longest hiatus for probably any monster, especially in the King Kong franchise, because King Kong has never had that big of a gap after this. Almost 30 years. They didn't make a single King Kong movie after 1933, which is insane. You would think King Kong would have more, but nope. They waited almost 30 years to give him a sequel. And essentially, this is a Toho film, so this is the first Japanese King Kong film. There is another one, which I will tackle eventually. But anyways, like I said, I will review this movie as both a King Kong and Godzilla movie review. So I will go into it expecting half a good Godzilla movie and half a King Kong movie. So let's find out if they did that correctly. So let's dive into this crossover film and see if it meets my expectations on being a good third film in the franchise. So without further ado, let's get started. So the plot of King Kong versus Godzilla is that King Kong and Godzilla go head to head in an epic battle of the beast, as King Kong escapes his captivity in Japan and goes after Godzilla to do battle. So yeah, it's pretty much that. Now, normally I would try to touch upon at least one or two characters that I remember, but I don't remember a single fucking character in this movie. They are so bland, so dull, and so boring. I didn't even give a shit. I mean, to be fair, the people aren't what I expect in a Godzilla and King Kong movie. I mean, King Kong is a little bit different, maybe, but so in the King Kong side of things, it's a little lackluster that he doesn't have a good, hero. But you gotta remember, this is also a Godzilla movie, and Godzilla movies tend to do this and not have good protagonists. Yeah, it's just a bunch of douchebag businessmen and idiots trying to, kidnap King Kong because they need a sponsor for their company, which is fucking stupid. But yeah, these idiots, these dumbasses just decide, yeah, let's go to King Kong's island and go capture him, because it worked so well the first time they did it. I mean, granted, this is Japan this time, not America in the first film, but it does have some few references to the original King Kong in here, so King Kong fans will surely be happy about that. So I guess, yeah, there really isn't much to talk about. I pretty much just explained how douchey the businessmen in King Kong vs. Godzilla were. So what about the monsters themselves? Well, this is Godzilla's summer special, so let's start with King Kong. King Kong is my second favorite monster, and I absolutely love him. So suffice to say, I was really hoping they did him well. They did a great job with King Kong. Toho did great. He looks good in this film. He's very entertaining. They have nice references to the first film. They have the natives of the island, near Japan. It's a different island. It's called Faroe Island, not Skull Island, like in the American version. They also have a reference to King Kong going on top of a building like he did in the first film in New York with a woman in his hand, a Japanese woman. And yeah, for some odd reason, they gave King Kong electrical powers, and I think this has something to do with the fact that this was originally supposed to be Frankenstein versus Godzilla, which is honestly fucking stupid, because it gives King Kong an unfair advantage to Godzilla, because let's be honest, King Kong is a lot stronger than Godzilla's a lot stronger than King Kong. He has a lot more, powers and he's a lot taller actually than King Kong. King Kong's not even that fucking big, so they had to make him big so that he can at least be some type of threat to Godzilla. But yeah, he does battle. The only other monster he does battle with is this fucking octopus. And the scene with the octopus is nasty. It's fucking gross. It's just nasty how, like, the sounds it makes when King Kong is going after it. And King Kong doesn't even do much with it. And honestly, the monster fights are lacking. Like, really lacking. For a title that says King Kong versus Godzilla, it sure as hell does not have much of King Kong and Godzilla together. They have two fucking encounters with each other. The first encounter is barely even a fight because they just so happen to they see each other. King Kong throws some rocks. Godzilla uses his atomic breath. And King Kong pretty much just walks away, retreats, thinking like, yeah, fuck that. And, pretty much just Godzilla keeps wrecking havoc to Japan. Well, granted, King Kong does the same, but yeah. But the second fight is well worth it. Although it takes way too long to get to that second fight. Like, I'm not fucking joking. There's almost at least close to 10 fucking minutes, under 15 minutes left in the movie, and that's when we get our awesome climactic battle. Granted, it's fine to end the movie on a bang, but we needed more fights throughout this film. King Kong and Godzilla should have at least had 2 or 3 good fights in this film, and this would have been great. And oddly enough, there's something that I'm very mixed about, but it may be more of a negative for me. King Kong has a little more screen time than Godzilla, and I do not like that one fucking bit. I like King Kong. I've already said he's in my top 3 monsters. I only like Godzilla more than him. So it's suffice to say, when I see a crossover film, it should have a decent amount of time between who's crossovering, the two characters that are crossovering with each other. King Kong and Godzilla should have the same amount of screen time, but this film seems to dedicate more to King Kong. And another thing that I really find annoying is that not just the electrical powers and the fact that King Kong has a little bit more screen time, the characters just always focused on King Kong and rooting for him. They see Godzilla as the only monster. Sure, they sometimes they once or twice go after King Kong to make sure he doesn't destroy the city. But everyone in this movie is just so obsessed with King Kong. Look, I like King Kong, I really do, but this is a King Kong versus Godzilla movie. The humans shouldn't be siding with any of the monsters. But these fucking douchey businessmen are like, come on, King Kong, kick his ass. And of course, Godzilla whips his ass, which is great because it shuts up those douchey businessmen. Fuck those men. But King Kong overall is fucking awesome and hilarious. I love the references to the original King Kong. I love the fights the last fight he has with Godzilla, because he has great moments. The first great moment is when King Kong tries to throw a fucking rock but then fucks up and hits his own head. It's friggin' hilarious and one of the best King Kong scenes in this film. Check this out. Another great King Kong scene is when King Kong, after getting some electrical powers, picks up a goddamn tree and shoves it up Godzilla's mouth. Comedy gold. This is fucking hilarious. This fight is so entertaining. look at the shit and tell me that this isn't funny at all. Besides that, I like, besides the references to King Kong and electrical, and the good moments with King Kong fighting, and I like the look of Kong and his roar and everything. There are some mixed, and there are some things about King Kong that I'm not too fond of. Godzilla's great in this film, and this is his third film. He comes out of the ice, which pretty much shows that Raids Again. This does tie into Raids Again. There are no characters from the second Godzilla movie or any King Kong characters from any of his previous movies. So basically, this is the first film in the series where we kind of have different characters each sequel, which is going to continue happening. I mean, you won't see the same characters often in this monster franchise. But Godzilla is fucking awesome. They finally, thank God, gave him his roar back and didn't fuck up his character like they did in that awful sequel, Godzilla Raids Again. And he wreaks havoc on Tokyo. The army tries all these tactics, but they can't do jack shit. And every time he fights Godzilla, fights King Kong. He kicks his ass a lot. He uses atomic breath. He tail whips him. He fucking kicks his ass. I mean, he's just great. They're just so amazing. I think one of my favorite moments in the fight is when Godzilla drop kicks King Kong, and there's like a little bit of stop motion, which is hilarious, but it makes it all the more better. Look at this scene and tell me how tell me how entertaining it is. So there's another thing in this film that really kind of is weird and bugs me. There are some newsroom segments with the Americans from New York and the Japanese people in Japan. I don't know if this is just in the English dub version, because that's the one I watch. The first two films I watched the subtitle version, because the dub version was just basically the American version, all butchered and different. This one I watched the English dub version because it wasn't butchered. It's the same film. There's not really much different, and it's a little bit more easier to listen to people talk English than read the subtitles. But yeah, there's these news segments that are really kind of annoying. They drag out too long, and they're in the movie a lot, and it kind of downgrades it. It's really annoying. The one aspect I like about them is that there's this Dr. Johnson that explains Godzilla and King Kong, and scientifically, and talks about them. And I really like when there's a character that go scientifically into Godzilla and King Kong's, what they could be, their history and how they're still alive. I like that shit. It's pretty entertaining. But the news segments are just too drawn out and too annoying. And somebody please tell me if this is in the Japanese version, but this shit got pretty annoying in the English dub, and it's fucking stupid. There was no need to have these news segments all throughout cut together in each part of the film. It was just too much. I mean, we didn't need that. It's okay to have a scientist there in the conference room like the first two Godzilla movies, and just talk about Godzilla and King Kong and what they could do to counteract both of them, and what they may be and what their strengths and weaknesses. That's fine and all, But there's no need to have these news segments, telling us, replacing those conference bits. Because I think the conference is a lot more easier than, news segments placed out throughout the entire film. But that was just one of the things that bugged me. For many years, for some reason, there was a rumor apparently that the Japanese version had Godzilla as the winner, and the American version has King Kong as the winner. This has been debunked, and it's been stated that both versions are the same. So you're probably wondering, who won the fight between King Kong and Godzilla? Well, they said that according to the ending, it's implied that King Kong won the battle, and people say King Kong won. This is bullshit. This is grade A horseshit. And why do I say that's bullshit? Well, I wouldn't say it's bullshit if Godzilla was shown, maybe down on the ground, if he had injuries, or if there was just some indication that we knew that, okay, Godzilla was definitely beaten by King Kong. But there isn't. They both fall in the water, and King Kong emerges and goes, back to his home. And Godzilla's nowhere to be found. So, Godzilla's in the fucking water all the time. He used the water to get to Japan. What the fuck do you think he does? He's mostly in water. That's the whole point. I don't like that. I really don't like that they imply that King Kong won, because he really didn't. Yes, King Kong got the upper hand towards the end because of that stupid electrical power bullshit, but King Kong really didn't win that fight. And let's be honest, Godzilla really should have won. And they said that there's going to be a clear winner in the remake, so I hope to God that Godzilla wins, because I will be pissed off as hell if I leave that theater seeing Godzilla get his ass whipped by King Kong. That's bullshit. I know King Kong fans are going to disagree with me and say that they want King Kong to win, but I'm sorry. I'm a Godzilla fan, and I enjoy Godzilla more, and I just think it'd be a disservice to the character if he loses to someone like King Kong. Because I feel Godzilla just has a lot more going for him that he could easily beat King Kong. It's just stupid. And apparently this is the reason King Kong is considered the winner is because apparently King Kong was more popular in 1962 than Godzilla was. This makes no goddamn sense. How in the hell could King Kong be more popular than Godzilla? They each had 2 films in their respective franchises. King Kong hasn't been on the screen for almost 30 years. Godzilla's only been gone for 7. What, did people not see Godzilla in the 50s? Because people would be aware of Godzilla. That's really a stupid explanation, because they pretty much had... King Kong was not only gone longer, but they each... this is their 3rd movie in each of their respective franchises. So why in the hell could King Kong be... How in the hell could King Kong be more popular? Yes, he was an American-made monster, but... So, Godzilla's movies were given out to America as well, and probably other countries, right? I'm sure it's the same with King Kong. King Kong was probably released worldwide as well, but I don't see that argument. I don't understand why they say King Kong was more popular, because he really wasn't. I think the film gives too much focus to King Kong, and that's really a problem for me. If this was a King Kong solo movie, I wouldn't have an issue with that. But this is a Godzilla and King Kong crossover fight film. This should have half a Godzilla movie and half a King Kong movie. Half meaning half. Not full, half. King Kong should not be taking up most of Godzilla's crossover film. Because this is Godzilla's movie too. And let's be honest, Godzilla fans are here to see Godzilla. So it's really stupid when you cut when you give more attention to King Kong than Godzilla. So here's to hoping that the remake, changes that, basically. Honestly, though, this crossover film is a nice step up, I would say. It's kind of, lacking for most of it. I mean, you get to see King Kong and Godzilla destroy shit for, halfway through the film. But we don't get to see the actual fight until the end. Sure, there's an encounter they have earlier, but it's barely an encounter. It's just, they meet each other, Kong throws some rocks, Godzilla uses an atomic breath, Kong walks away like a little bitch. I mean, it's just not a fight. They barely did anything. They barely even got, physical. The second fight, they really got physical, but it was they waited way too long to give us that satisfying fight. But the ending of the film makes it all the more amazing. Unfortunately, the rest of the film is kind of lacking. So yes, let's get into my thoughts on King Kong vs. Godzilla and what I think of it. So what is my verdict on this film? I'm going to give King Kong vs. Godzilla from 1962 3 stars out of 5. Now you may be asking why 3? Well, I give it a 3 because it's decent. Godzilla and King Kong have great moments throughout this film, and there are some good things in it, but there are some things annoying. The things I like are the Godzilla and King Kong battles. I like the way King Kong and Godzilla both look, and I love the destruction they have. But what I don't like is the fact that that King Kong takes up a little more screen time than Godzilla. The characters suck, which is fine. I mean, the characters aren't going to be amazing, but they're not even at least somewhat, they're not even bearable to be with. At least if I have one bearable character, which the last 2 films have had, then that'd be fine. But we just are following these asshole businessmen who are always cheering on King Kong, which pisses me off even more. So yeah, King Kong has electrical powers, and that's bullshit because that's an unfair advantage. King Kong has too much screen time for a crossover film. The characters are assholes and suck and aren't at the least bit interesting. And it's just, and there isn't enough battles. When King Kong and Godzilla do meet, it's great, but it's just lacking in battles, and I think that's what they needed. They really needed some more good battles, and this film could have been a lot better. Heck, it could have been amazing. I wouldn't even give a shit about the characters if at least we had some more good monster fights, but we only have one. I mean, the first encounter is okay. It's somewhat entertaining, but it's not as entertaining as the last fight. I mean, damn, that should have been most of the movie. But no, it lacked some. This is a decent entry. It's a good film. It's not perfect, but it's not shitty either. It's a good King Kong vs. Godzilla movie. It's decent, but I'm hoping that the American remake from Legendary Pictures will be a lot more better than this one. I hope it amps up the fights, gives us some decent enough characters, and doesn't favor one monster over the other. They need to both. This needs to be a crossover film. We need to have it be neutral and fair. There should be no favoring for one of the characters. But yes, that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sorry if maybe I was just going off the top of my head what I was saying, so I may have sounded like I was losing my train of thought, but yeah, sometimes that was happening. But yeah, this film was decent. it's definitely a step up from Godzilla Raids Again, and for King Kong, it's a good step up from his previous film, Son of Kong. But it could have been a lot better. But I still enjoyed it, and I would recommend it. I don't know if the Japanese version is better. Most likely is, but if you're an American, if you're used to English and you prefer it that way, then I would say the dub version would be a lot easier because you can find it easy. It's usually the one that pops up first before the Japanese version anyways. So yeah, I would recommend that. And then if you're curious, watch the Japanese version and see which one is better. If the Japanese version is better, go for it. But honestly, I try to go for a dub version because hearing the characters speak English is better than reading the subtitles. The only reason I didn't do it for the first two films was because the dubbing sounded like shit and they butchered the movies. But this one, they didn't really butcher it. The voice acting was fine, and the dubbing was not shit. It was good. But thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like on it if you did. Comment down below what you think of King Kong vs. Godzilla. Do you think it's worse? Do you think it's a terrible film? Do you think it's a lot better than I'm making it out to be and think it's like a masterpiece? Or are you like me where it's decent, but there are things about it that could have been improved upon to make this a better monster movie? Leave all your thoughts about this film down in the comments section below, and subscribe for more Godzilla and King Kong and monster content like this. I will continue reviewing the Godzilla franchise for the summer special, and I will eventually get to King Kong's franchise one day, but this is essentially technically my first King Kong review, and it's a decent King Kong movie and a decent Godzilla movie. So yeah. But if you're want to keep up with the summer special, then I suggest to subscribe. If you like this, me reviewing these particular monsters, I hope to tackle King Kong after and Mothra and Rodan as well, along with Godzilla. So yeah, I do have other monsters that I want to tackle, but a select few, not every monster. But thank you guys for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. And next video, I will tackle Mothra versus Godzilla, which may or may not be uploaded at the same time this video goes up, but we'll see. And from what I remember, it should be a good one. Mothra is one of my favorites as well. Not as amazing as King Kong, but I still like Mothra, and I cannot wait to tackle that film because I think it'll be good. But I guess we'll find out. Anyways, I'll see you in the next video, and as always, peace out.